It's been almost 4 years since we saw the ending of Netflix's Western drama Godless, which has been listed by Vanity Fair and The Washington Post as one of the best series back in 2017. Today, we're going to bring good news that the series will be having its second season. So if you're curious to know what's in store for the series, tune in to find out. What's the storyline for Godless Season 2? The first season revolved heavily around the chase of Frank Griffin and his gang for Roy Goode, who had stolen their loot. The series wrapped up nicely, and according to MichiganSportsZone.com, Season 2 will focus on how the city that sheltered Roy Goode fought Frank Griffin in his gang's murderous attempts. Since it's a different storyline from the first season, fans are looking forward to how it will develop, as well as the introduction of new characters in the show. Although we're quite sure a familiar face or two will make an appearance in some of the episodes. Who is in the cast of characters in Season 2? There are a lot of actors who will be returning to reprise their respective roles in the series, and it's most likely to be led by Merritt Wever as Mary-Agnes and Michelle, the widow of the late mayor of LaBelle. In this series, she is known for being pragmatic and determined, which she most likely got from her brother, Sheriff Bill McNue. Michelle Dockery will also make her return as Alice Fletcher, the love interest of Roy Goode in the first season. Her character is an independent widow who manages a small ranch along with her mother-in-law and her young son. Actor Sam Waterston will also return in the series as Marshal John Cook, who's on the hunt for Frank Griffin while also serving under the law in Santa Fe. The main protagonist and antagonist in the first season, Jack O'Connell as Ray Goode and Jeff Daniels as Frank Griffin, are also set to reprise their roles in this upcoming sequel. The sheriff of LaBelle and brother of Mary-Agnes, Bill McNue, will also be returning in the series, who is played by the actor Scoot McNairy. The fearless lawman and devoted sheriff of LaBelle, Winn, is also returning in Season 2, as played by Thomas Brodie Sangster. Winn is most known for being loyal to the town of LaBelle, as well as being a fearless sheriff who's afraid of no one. The arrogant company man, Ed Logan, who's played by Kim Coates, is also returning, as well as Iyovi, Alice's Whitey mother-in-law, who manages the small ranch with her and is portrayed by Tantoo Cardinal. How did the actors prepare for their roles in the series? Since the drama is set during the late 1800s civilization, the main mode of transportation at the time is via horses. Admittedly, it takes a lot of training to ride one, which a lot of actors have experienced, but not Scoot McNairy. Thankfully, the actor had an easier time riding horses since he grew up in Dallas and had his share of horseback riding growing up. I grew up riding horses as a kid, and I grew up in Texas, the actor told IndieWire in an exclusive interview back in 2017. I felt very comfortable on the horse, and it was definitely more so that I was excited about it than I was hesitant about. He also added, "Guns are always something I've always been familiar with and been around and practiced gun safety and whatnot. Regardless of what you think, when you get there and you start working with people that this is all they do, there's a plethora of education that I got from working with the horse wranglers as well as with Joey Dillon, and also the history he knew of all the revolvers and guns, what certain times they came out, and why this person would carry this particular weapon was all incredibly informative as well. The guy knew the entire history of steel." Contrary to McNairy's ease, lead actor Jack O'Connell struggled with a lot of things since he had to live up to his character Roy Goode, who was also a skilled gunslinger with a killer aim. "I just hung out with real cowboys maybe like 2 months prior to shooting," O'Connell told IndieWire in the same interview. "The gunslinging stuff was pretty difficult. The twirling stuff, the gunslinging was pretty difficult. I just had to work at it." In addition to being a skilled gun wielder, Roy Goode also had a close affinity with horses, which proved to be a struggle with the actor at first as well, since he had to learn horseback riding for the role. "Riding was very difficult to begin with also," he said, "because you've only really got the mane to hold on to. I had a couple of falls, but I got off lightly. I just tried to hang out with these cowboy dudes as much as possible and get a feel for it. Roping cattle and steering them, learning how to drive cattle and stuff. It was not very difficult because I was just kind of following the lads that knew how to do it. I definitely struggled on my own." Actress Michelle Dockery credits the cowboy camp she partook in as the motivation for her character, Alice Fletcher, in the series. During camp, the actress learned how to shoot a gun, saying, "This is something I've done for the first time." She also added, "When I held the rifle for the first time, I was terrified as well as intimidated. I also learned riding in a Western way that was very different from what I knew previously." Charlotte Temple, who is known for being a nervous and put-together woman, played by Samantha Soul, also revealed how she got into character for the role. She watched several classic Western films such as McCabe and Mrs. Miller, as well as High Plains Drifter, which she studied extensively and took inspiration from. The actress also added that getting inspiration was a great excuse to binge watch these series. What was the inspiration for Godless? In a separate interview with Variety, Scott Frank explained how he always wanted to write a Western show. Though the specifics were still unclear, "I've always wanted to write a Western," says Frank. "I had no idea what the story was. I didn't know anything. I just knew I wanted to write a Western." Originally, Godless was supposed to be a movie, but he opted for a series adaptation instead, claiming TV is taking more risks than movies are now, and movies are resistant to make a Western because they just don't travel well, and it's hard to make money overseas. While working on his research for the script, he discovered reports of how mining towns in the Southwest suffered the loss of their men due to mining accidents. Sometimes, all of the men would die in a single day in an accident, and the women would be left there, he says. Sometimes, they would all leave, and sometimes they would be stranded and have to make the town work. I thought, oh, that's it. That's the movie. And that's where I began. With this in mind, the fictitious town of LaBelle came to fruition. A recap on Godless Season 1's finale and a glimpse on what to see in Season 2. Show creator Scott Frank spoke with IndieWire in an interview back in 2017 on what the inspiration for the series finale, titled God Bless, was. "It's the romance of living in that time. Everything from the horses to the guns," Frank explained. "There's a very romantic notion, the kind of surviving through all of that and living out there in those days. A lot of people look back on that and wish they were sort of there again, in many ways. It's not just the negative aspects, like the violence and sort of being caught out in the elements. All of that is certainly part of it, but it's also just the quiet, giant, empty spaces that we don't have anymore, or we certainly don't experience every day anymore." The series left an impact with its finale, especially the shootout that took place between Frank, Griffin, and the women of LaBelle. Actress Michelle Dockery and Merritt Wever shone brightly in the final episode, which showcased how capable they were in a gunfight. "Me and Michelle Dockery were up on a roof, so we were literally above the fray," said Wever. "They also built a fake roof lower down for when the horse came up and stuff like that. That was the only one special effect shot when we were on the fake one. So we got to see all the choreography, and it was really a sight to behold. It was beautiful, and it was really impressive." Scoot McNairy also related his experience, which he described as crazy, and that it was a great payoff. "We took 2.5–3 weeks to shoot it," he said. "It was crazy with all the fans and the smoke and the dust. It got to a point where you could shoot for the first 30 to 40 seconds for something like that, and then you couldn't see anything. And then we'd stop, let it clear, and start it back up again." With that said, seeing the final version of it, how they pieced it together, it was definitely worth it. A great payoff. Since we've seen how the women are accomplished gunslingers themselves, there's so much more to look forward to in the second season. With that, we're wrapping up today's episode about the series Godless Season 2, and all the facts you need to know. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Until the next episode, see ya!